Hello to all the students and welcome to the module 24th of Bootstrap coding with me. At A2IT, we are trying our level best in this video series to give you a clear understanding of how Bootstrap is used using the practical examples for each module. I hope you're learning it in the best possible way. So in this particular module, as you can see the title, Input and Input Groups, we will be covering the various input functions which are used in order to make the controls on a web page. We'll learn this in a very simple way. So what I'm going to do is make a chart in front of you to explain you what is the usage of input and which all controls can be created using the input functions. Whenever we make an HTML page using Bootstrap, there are two main things we need to focus. There are some label controls which helps you to show the text on the web page, and there is also an input control in which we receive or we take the input from the user in the form that we are making and then finally submit it to the server or whichever location of the database we want to. Now in case we need to make text boxes, yes, we will be needing the input function. How about checkboxes? How about radio buttons? How about select boxes? In each of these cases, we will be using the input functions inside the forms to create the forms. Now what we are going to do is, I'm going to give you a basic syntax that we will be using throughout our applications, and then we'll start looking at how we can use this syntax in making the web pages using Bootstrap. The basic syntax that we need to remember is we will be using a keyword called as an input, and inside this tag after the input we will be using type is equal to, which will actually tell me what kind of input function we are using or what kind of an input control are we making. Are we making a text box, or are we using it for the radio button, or are we taking the input from the user in the form of the checkbox? So this one main syntax we are going to use. Secondly, as I said, as we discussed in the previous modules also, we've got the different types of controls, and we have also got the different type of input functions for the different controls. So inbuilt classes that we've got in case of the input functions are the input classes. So what we are going to do now is look at the application and try to understand how this input function can be used. So let's look at the application. Now in this application, as you can see, I have already got the inbuilt code which is actually telling the system that we are using the Java Bootstrap. Now in the case of the Bootstrap, we've got some linking that we need to do. We need to do the linking of the CSS, we need to link the JS as we have already discussed. Once that is done, what exactly we are going to do in this page is we are going to create a form. And in this form, what we are going to take, we will be taking the email from the user, we will be taking the password from the user, there will be a submit button which takes the inputs from the user and submits it on to the server, and finally we also have got another button which is called as the remember me button. This remember me button, if checked and the user ID and password is entered, will next time will not ask the user to enter the email and password. So in order to do this, I need couple of controls. I need to make sure I've got a label for the email. I need to make sure I've got this label for the password. I need to make sure I've got these input boxes. I need to make sure this is a button that is needed, and also a checkbox for the remember me. So all of these different controls are needed, isn't it? Now what we are going to do here is, because we want that whatever user enters here and clicks on submit should be actually submitted onto the server. So in this case we will be using the action page.php. So and how to use this, the syntax of this will be right in the form. So we'll say form action is equal to action page.php. So let me actually show you how we are using it in our application. Line number 16, you can see that we've used the form action as action page.php. We've got an inbuilt class for the input which is the form group, which we have to use because this is the Bootstrap inbuilt class. We've created the labels like we do similarly in the case of the HTML, and we have got an input function. Now in this case, the type of the box is email because we are going to fetch the email. The class is the inbuilt class for the Bootstrap. ID is the unique ID that we give to the control on the web page, and it is exactly similar to the student ID that each one of you have got in a university, which is a unique ID. Placeholder is basically, when the check text box will be seen, there will be already enter email written, and a unique name we are giving to this field as email. Now in terms of ID and email, you can either take both of them or you can also use one of these fields. Similarly, we have done the same action for the password field, and we have also done the same action for the submit. We have done the same action for the remember me, and we have created our form. Now what we are going to do, basically in this particular page, we will save our code and we will run the output to see how a form has got created using these inputs that we have used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate my bootstrap practice.file. You can see that this file is there with me. We need to make sure we have also saved our code. And now let's quickly run this file. Here you go. You can see that a login page has created. Now if I compare my input and the output, you can see that we've got a label created, which is the email, which has got created because of this text that we have written, this code we have written. We've got a input field, which is the text field. We have got a placeholder, as you can see, enter email, which is right here. We have got one for the password. We have got the enter password as a placeholder, a remember me button, and obviously the last control that we have created is the submit. Now as of now, if you can see, if I run this, if I enter the details in this email address, you will see that this email that I'm using, or the password that I'm entering, you can see the Bootstrap provides us this inbuilt eye icon also. You will see that on the click of submit, it will not take me anywhere because I'm just using the action.php. I have not linked it correctly. So you might find a file not found error. However, if you have linked it correctly, you will get the correct input also. And yes, the last thing that we always check, is this page responsive? Yes, definitely. For any type of screen, you can see that this page automatically takes the width and the height of the page. So this is the very first thing that we have covered in the input function. Stay tuned for the next module. We will be covering the input groups and see how practically we apply it in Bootstrap.